Coaches, we're doing this interview. We've got the cold tubs right in our view. I want to know, how many times have you been in the cold tub after practice?
Shoot, man, that was my life when I was a player. Matter of fact, I was just jumping there all the time last year. Haven't been in there this year. I probably should.
You're giving some of the players a hard time because they're trying to kind of ease into it because it's so cold.
It's never right to ease into anything. Go full speed.
It's like a Band-Aid, just rip it off.
Just rip it off. Some of them go in there with their little foot buoys and all that. Like, dude, take that off.
So take me through practice today. You guys got the day off. You guys probably got to sleep in, have a late lunch, maybe watch some Netflix during the day because there's a player-run practice. That's how the day went, right?
It was really, really good. It was a really good day. Not that we had the day off, but what KALANI did as far as putting them in charge, you know, the organizational part of it as far as a coach, I mean, that's just kind of what you do, but to sit in a chair, in a different chair with a different view, listening to the players, kind of figuring out, now I was taking notes the whole time. Okay, these guys understand this, they don't understand this, they may understand this incorrectly, or I really like the way that they're using language in this. I mean, it was really good, and you know, us as coaches, as soon as we were done with just the player meetings, they went. I mean, we got together and talked a little bit about some of the things that we could change as far as being better teachers, but I thought the practice portion of it was good because you saw a lot of just tactical football, you know, and those guys talking and those guys just kind of arguing a little bit, which was really good because, you know, there were certain calls there. Troy Warner was calling the defense, right. And you know, Isaiah was asking for specific calls and other times, and the D line was like, we're expecting run on this down, we would rather be in this front, you guys call them this. And so it was really good for them to kind of talk and figure things out, you know, understand tactical football a little bit better, understand just, you know, increasing their football IQ. And so it was actually fun, really, really fun to be around.
KALANI had talked about how it helps the players kind of take ownership of the team, being able to be in that kind of a position. And it really leads to something that he's talked a lot about since the beginning of camp, and that's leadership, something that he said he's been really impressed with this team. I assume probably the same for you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's been fun to be a part of. And, you know, KALANI going into his 4th year is speaking and seeing with a lot of clarity and, you know, making different demands on coaches as far as making things better, demands on players, but also making demands out of himself. And it's been fun to be a part of, fun to be around a head coach who has, going into his 4th year as a head coach, is just getting so much better, so much faster. I mean, his learning curve is unbelievable, and I'm excited for this year. I'm also excited to be part of a staff where a head coach is unbelievably good, like how KALANI is.
KALANI also said that you guys were actually put through some drills, maybe some punts. Were you part of this, and how did you do?
I was the first one up, and they almost tricked me because everybody's kind of surrounding you, catching punts off the jugs, and I was the first one up. Everyone's kind of like, you know, starting to get rowdy. Then all of a sudden I look up and this ball's in the air, like they just shot it off. I wasn't ready, but I caught it, so, you know.
Nobody should be surprised by that.
I caught it. I don't know who dropped it. It was so chaotic inside of the drill. I think there were a couple of guys that dropped it, maybe 1 or 2, but most of the coaches did a pretty good job.
How would you assess where the defense is right now, 2 weeks before the first game?
I think that with the youth, there's always things to fix. There's always things to refine is probably the better word for us. We're excited going in with a couple of weeks left with who we have. We're not quite ready yet as far as just getting exactly where we need to be, but come Monday, we're going to feel pretty good as a coaching staff about the plan that we'll have in place, as well as just the players that are executing the plan. And that's really going to narrow things down, and the players will really start to sharpen. And right now it's just kind of like the whole playbook, right. Random plays that they're throwing at you, but once we start to really focus in and you know, do what we do against what we think we're going to face, as well as being ready for everything, then we'll be really, really confident going into that game.
So you guys, and Coach Tuiaki alluded to this, you guys haven't got into Utah prep yet. It's more about you guys and finding out where you guys are. Then you'll get into specific stuff for Utah, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Right now it's really just been scheming up our offense, just you know, football stuff for us as coaches, as far as what we like in certain situations, and and certain schemes. But then we as a coaching staff have started watching, but we haven't put together a game plan yet. And so it's really just kind of been soaking in, and you know, every morning we come back together as a coaching staff. There's always a coach that comes back and says, hey, think about this, and we'll put it up on the board and you know, kind of starting to have visions of what we want. And no, I mean, we're going to be really, really excited for when the whole thing is put together and when that day comes.
Last Saturday was kind of a perfect example of this, and you'd held a lot of the defensive guys out of live drills. Obviously want to keep them healthy, make sure they make it to August 29th. How difficult is that as the coordinator to monitor that? Because you want these guys to have practice time and you want them to get reps, but you also you just don't want to see anybody hurt.
Yeah, you know, they're practicing. Really, what we just pulled them from all the live tackle stuff, and you know, for the D linemen, for instance. There really is no difference. You know, the way that we practice and the way that they're going, it's hard for you to not go full speed all the way. The only thing is we don't tackle the running backs. We just kind of chest them up, and we stay away from the quarterback, but we know when we're close enough. And you know, really, the way that a lot of teams are practicing now, especially with the NFL and things that are changing and starting to go to the way of protecting players, you've got to be a team that learns how to practice fast, learn how to practice physical up front, but not hurting anybody. And I think that our players are doing a good job with it. You know, open field tackles and all that stuff is always kind of a concern. And really the focus has been putting yourself in good body position. If I know if your feet are right and you're close enough, or you're chesting them up and your face mask is up and you're protecting yourself, you're close enough to make a tackle. And so we just continue to harp on those things. But I thought the player has been doing a really good job, and we just have to make smart decisions as coaches to make sure that some of those tackle situations where somebody could get rolled up or, you know, just get dinged up, that we just keep them out of it so that they're ready for the game.
Middle linebacker is one of those positions that everyone's kind of focusing on, and kind of curious to see how that plays out. Where do things stand with the middle linebacker position right now?
They're still competing. You know, Keenan Peeler's done a really good job. He's probably the one right now that sticks out to us as the guy that could possibly go on as a starter. But we're really liking how Jackson Kafusi's competing. We're liking how Peyton Wilgar's competing. You know, Kavika Fonua, just kind of being stung a little bit by injury, is a guy that we already trust because he played backer for us for a whole year before he moved to running back. And so we feel comfortable about those guys competing at the Mike Backer spot. You know, it's just we'll continue to those guys will continue to get better in the upcoming weeks leading up to the game, and we'll decide on a starter, I think, a little bit later.
What have been your thoughts on the safeties and the corners? Not just maybe the guys that will be the starters, but the depth at those positions.
Yeah, you know, I think that we've got decent depth. A guy goes down, then you would really start to be concerned. Right now, I think we feel pretty good about who's out there. You know, the corners are young. There's some guys competing. But we have decent depth there. We just need to make sure that everybody's healthy. It's the same thing with the safety group. If we end up losing a guy, then you're kind of re-looking at things and, you know, moving a corner over perhaps, or doing certain things. But right now we feel pretty good about the depth that we have. We just got to keep everyone healthy.
Well, in physicality, I know something you've talked about, and Coach SITAKE has talked about it. It seems like there has been no lack of physical play, which I know you guys are really looking to see this team bring.
Yeah, and that's kind of on par for the defense, and it's not, I don't think, anything specific to just, you know, me as a coach. It's these boys are physical, they're mean, and they love contact, and so it'll be right along what we've been doing for the last few years, right along what BYU defense has been doing for decades, and we'll try to keep that up this year.
Coach E, thanks for the time. We'll let you go jump in the cold bath. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.